Just take this apart. For example, we will install a label roll of 30, and it will be wound in this manner. Don't wrap it from underneath. It must be wrapped in parallel. Well, can you hear it? Not very. Choose the wheels a couple of times. That's where I'm not holding up. No, we can't lock it too tightly, otherwise the label roll won't turn. We need to loosen it a bit so that it just touches the label roll, and then we can lock it in place. This prevents the label roll from misaligning. Rear end locking. The force of these two screws is roughly that you don't need to apply much effort. It feels like you can't turn them without force. Well, it's still a bit challenging. If you can't pull the label, that's fine. If you can pull it, then tighten it a bit more. It's okay to adjust a bit more. Just don't move it any further. Then we install this component. This position must form a right angle. If it doesn't, there will be some misalignment in this area. I don't know if you can see it. Well, this area has some curvature. It doesn't fit snugly against the blade edge. We need to readjust this part. We need to readjust it and then loosen it at the back. Then pull it again by pulling back and forth. You can see when the blade edge is misaligned, when you see that a right angle is formed at the blade edge here. When it can form a right angle, we can proceed to the back. Pressing on this wheel, the position is basically fixed, and then lock these two screws. Well, wait a moment, it could be said. That's all you need to do. Then, as you can see here, there is a slight curve, and the label roll should be tightened. It cannot form a curved situation. It must be tight in this area. If it is not tight, then pull the label roll back. This position is sufficient, and it will ensure that it is parallel. It has been inserted, but if the pressure plate is pressed too high, it won't work. We need to adjust this position. This pillar. Drop it down a bit, or it was supposed to go straight up, but you can also shift it a little to this side based on that. At that time, the situation required tightening, but this pillar must not be moved. It must be locked in place. This pillar cannot be moved when placing this. Well, this pressure plate, press down. Press down. Well, after applying pressure, this position should fit the curvature of the blade edge. It cannot be said that there are still some gaps after you have pressed it down. If it can't be said that after pressing down there are still some gaps, then that won't work, and you must pull the label roll back. Now, let it stick to the blade edge. This area forms a right angle. Okay? Then tighten this. Tighten this screw. Then set the limit. This position must ensure that it fits the label to prevent the label roll from shifting back and forth. Also, consider the following points. Shift back and forth according to the label points. Now we can normally place the panel down. Just start it up normally. That should be fine.